Alright guys, so here we go with another Dark Souls 3 video. I got a request from somebody on an old video to update my strength build, which I have done, and I will be making an updated video for that in just a little bit. But he also requested some gameplay or some tips on using the Fume Greatsword. Now, for those of you that don't know, this sword was nerfed, I think in patch 1.04 or something like that. The base damage was reduced, but that's not what makes this weapon good. I mean, damage is damage, don't get me wrong, but with the Fume Greatsword, it's the range that really kind of puts it into a class of its own. Now, it is seemingly a little bit slower. It doesn't do as much damage as other Greatswords, but in my opinion, the extra range, like I said, makes up for that just a teeny bit. It makes the rolling R1 attacks, which are parryable but still very useful, extremely good. It makes just the standard R1 overhead attacks very good. Being an Greatsword, when you two-handed, it can't be parried. And the R2, which is the normal Greatsword moveset, the thrust forward, is extremely good because it has so much range and it is unparryable as well. So you're going to see me use this sword in PvP and pretty much go up against, or I've included clips where I went up against things that I can really outline a lot of these specific points with. So coupled with a lot of stamina, which if you guys have watched any of my PvP videos, you know that I like to have a lot of stamina at my disposal, just a personal preference kind of thing. As you can see here, I'm always chasing opponents down, not giving them room to breathe. And the second somebody thinks they can have a chance to punish me, you know, if I do an attack, they think, oh, he used up a lot of stamina with that swing. As you saw with that guy, he tried to hit me with the bow, but we still came out and hit him as he was recovering from the bow attack. Again, right there, he thought he can get in a couple of swings, but again, we can hyper armor through some of that, and we pretty much have him dead at this point. I got a little distracted by the poison that I guess the host was just randomly throwing at us for some reason, so I ended up getting hit a little bit there. But this guy does make a little bit of a comeback, and one of the ways to play against an Greatsword is to be very agile. You have to dodge a lot, you have to really watch your opponent and make pokes at the right time. Now, this guy probably should have just done those two hits and rolled away, but he got greedy, tried to combo me some more, and after I got hit twice, you know, I'll have time to initiate my attack because I'm not being comboed anymore, and I hyper armored through his third attack and killed him. So please bear that in mind when you do fight against Greatswords. You need to really poke because you don't want to get hyper armored and end up on the wrong side of a trade, right? Again, if you watch my videos, you know that a big theme with a lot of things that I talk about, especially when using heavier, higher damage weapons, is fishing out the trade. Now, I know there's a lot of people who hate on the Greatsword and say it's really cheap or really hard to beat, and I'm going to show you guys that it's really not, okay? This guy was actually using the Greatsword somewhat properly. You want to use the L1 attack when you're very close to somebody, but when you're going up against something that has hyper armor, again, I'm going to come out on top with my trade. As you see there, he tried to do the two L1s, and I hit him both times, I think, right there, right? And I came out with a lot more damage than he did to me. So you have to be extremely careful. Again, there, I'll take that trade. You want to come in with me with your special attack. I'll just start up my hyper armor R2 attack and just blast you in the middle of your attack. Plus, I'm doing counter damage. And if I had the Leo ring, because I'm pretty sure this weapon does thrust damage, right, on the L2 attack, it would have done even more damage. So, just be very careful of that and know that there are ways to space out the Greatsword and to get the better of trades with it as well. Now, this setup, or this battle, I should say, we're going up against another Greatsword user, infusing it with Dark Moon Blade, so he's going to be doing some heavy damage if he hits us. But again, we're just going to play a little bit more patient when we fight up against an Greatsword. Again, when we see him doing the stomp attack, we're not going to approach him. Whenever you see an Greatsword doing a stomp, I really recommend you guys don't approach and you just stay away. We ended up catching him rolling there. We ended up catching him rolling again. A lot of the times, the extra little bit of range on the Fume Greatsword will make the difference between catching a roll and not catching a roll. Another good sword or an Greatsword for that is the Greatsword, which I will be doing a breakdown for a little later, so keep tuned for that if you want to see it. Now, as you can see here, we have a significant advantage on this guy right now. He has to really play careful because he doesn't want to get caught by our stomp. So he constantly tried to roll around us, using up a lot of his stamina. And as a result, we were able to recover fast enough and get away from his attack after our stomp. And what's also nice about Ultra Greatswords and the Fume Ultra Greatsword is just throwing out the stomp without even doing any attack can really bait opponents into kind of being scared. As you can see here, he's rolling away because he knows he doesn't want to contest that stomp now, right? And again, here we go, doing the R1 roll. I know that I'm going to come out on top with the trade, chase down the roll with a little bit of extra range on the Fume Ultra Greatsword, and finish him off with that. So I don't even know we're on like a 4-win streak, but I don't think I had any Estus left, so I just went back to my world. So we pretty much dominated that Fight Club. And now we're going into some 1v1s here against other people in general. So here you can see this guy, I guess, is using an Ultra Greatsword. I don't even know what weapon he was using. I don't even know what weapon that is. But he ended up hyper armoring through, and here you see he did a really good stomp, and I rarely get caught by that, but he did a really good stomp. Unfortunately, he tried to be a little bit too aggressive by doing a jumping attack, and Tears of Denial actually saved us right there from the stomp, because we would have died, and we were able to get up, roll, counter his mistake, which was a jumping attack, and finish him off. So Tears of Denial, I'm going to cover this a little bit later, but I do think that it's actually one of the better things to use in PvP. I included it in a lot of my builds, and I've included it in the strength build, and there's a little trick that I like to use with it, which I'll discuss when I do a build breakdown video a little later. So I mean, whenever you fight up against mages, I mean, you saw, if you were watching the video, the first hit did a ton of damage, and we just finished him off with a quick running R1 to punish his casting. And if you've watched my spellcaster build breakdown video, you know that I said that if you really base a character around spells, it's likely going to be easy to counter, as you saw right there. Now, I did recently upload my bleed build, and as you can see here, I'm going up against somebody using their own bleed build. And one of the things I said was a weakness of the bleed build is the fact that enemies, when you fight them, usually give you space. You can see that this guy hit me a few times, but he didn't follow up, and look at this, my bleed build up has basically been reduced, and he gave me enough space that I could have eaten a blood red moss clump. So this is why I said in the other video too, you always have to be aggressive with a bleed build, otherwise you're never actually going to bleed an opponent. This is exactly what I mean. And look at, I have all this opportunity to eat blood red moss clumps, but I'm not doing it to kind of just show you guys, even with the space that is given to you, you know, they're not going to end up bleeding you fast enough, especially when you use heavier weapons. You're just going to hyper armor through everything and kill them. They can't really contest you all that much. So this is why I think that bleed builds kind of suffer just a little bit if you play smart, if you play not necessarily reactive, but if you just kind of control the space in front of you again, understand how to chase down opponents, how to time your attacks and your rolls to catch opponents, especially with a weapon as long as a Fume Ultra Greatsword, you will never really lose to a bleed build. Again, you know, taking into consideration all your normal tactics like being agile, rolling away, dodging attacks, the bleed build, you have to be mindful, if you are using one, to chase somebody down and constantly keep the pressure on. It's more important, in my opinion, on a bleed build than any other build. Of course, you can always do the combo with the Grey Warden Twin Blades that usually will bleed somebody, but sometimes it doesn't, and if you give them the space, you know, they're going to end up countering you, especially when people equip the Blood Bite Ring +1 and stuff, and they get that extra bleeding resistance, or, you know, they eat some kind of resistance material like the Moss Fruit or something like that. This fight, again, I normally wouldn't have included this, but just because this guy was trying to bleed me with the Mannequin Claws, and he's using something that should technically be able to counter the Fume Ultra Greatsword quite well. The dash attack, or the dash special ability, I should say, it's not really an attack, has the ability to kind of constantly be thrown out to have invincibility frames to not get hit by anything from the Fume Ultra Greatsword. And if you're dashing towards the person, you are able to kind of get in close and punish their attacks. You can get in for 1 or 2 swings, stagger them, and then get the hell out of there. Again, because you don't want to get too greedy, because I'll end up starting up an attack, hyper armoring through if you're going to try to combo me for like more than whatever your stun lock combo is with your weapon. Because I know with fist weapons, I think it's a 4-hit combo, but with every other weapon, it's more or less 2. And some weapons don't even combo, right? Like the washing pole, you can't combo the 2 R1s. That match, again, just showing the sheer dominance of a Fume Ultra Greatsword. What really shines with this weapon isn't necessarily its damage or its combo potential. I mean, you still do decent damage, still do decent combo damage, but it's the range, right? You're going to outrange other attacks. It is an Ultra Greatsword. It has the hyper armor frame build up, so it's going to destroy everything. And I don't know why the host ended up fighting me there when he was trying to host a fight club, but we ended up killing the host, so that was the end of that fight club. Anyways, with this next battle, we're going up against the Glaive. Again, once we see somebody switch to a weapon that they want to parry with, we know that we can kind of bait out that parry. We roll towards them, and you notice what I did was I didn't do the R1 right after I rolled. I kind of waited because I knew and I saw him switch to the fist weapon because I knew he was going to try to parry my roll attack. So I just delayed it just a bit so I would come up with the overhead normal R1 swing instead of the rolling R1, which would have been parryable, right? This guy, I don't know why I included this clip either. He tried to parry us and it just didn't work out. But again, just going up against smaller weapons, you can chase down and catch rolls so easily with an Ultra Greatsword. It's just, you know, a 10-second battle. It's so quick. It's ridiculous. And even when you fight people that are lagging out like this guy, he's using the Goddard Twin Swords, you know, one of the better weapons in the game. It's really hard to kind of catch somebody who's lagging, but you can see that just with the space that you can control around you, enemies don't really have a really good opportunity to kind of get in close. They have to really try to, I guess, punish your attacks. And if you have a lot of stamina, like I said in the beginning, you're going to be able to follow up mostly all of your attacks with a second attack or a roll away or something to keep your enemy from hitting you, because the Fume Ultra Greatsword actually has some decent delayable strings. Like you can do the R1 and you can actually delay it a bit, as you saw me do in this clip a few times, and follow up with the second R1 and actually catch opponents trying to punish your first R1 because they think you have no stamina or something. So it is a useful tactic to use, and these are all things that are very viable with a weapon like the Fume Ultra Greatsword because it has the overhead R1 attack instead of the like kind of diagonal slash that normal Ultra Greatswords do. So the same guy ends up summoning us back. This time he tries to use an Exile Curve Greatsword. But again, we're not too worried because look at that. See the follow-up and the auto-tracking of the follow-up R1? It is so good. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much going to wrap up this video. I made this specifically for somebody who requested me to review the Fume Ultra Greatsword and give him a few tactics. So hopefully this video helped. Let me know what you guys think. If you want to see any other specifics, builds, weapons, whatever it might be. And again, this is all subjective based on my own opinions. So just let me know, and I will gladly do what I can to help you guys out. But thank you for watching, guys. Quantum is out.
Big pimpin', baby.